A while ago I made this iceberg of increasingly obscure details about the loonaverse and its theories. A lot of people asked me to explain the layers, so I decided to make this video doing just that. Please keep in mind that this isn't meant to be an introduction to Luna themselves. I'll only be talking very briefly about the group before diving right into complex lore and theories. So, if you are completely unfamiliar with Luna, this probably isn't the best place to start. With all that out of the way, let's just jump right into the loonaverse iceberg. Layer 1. The first layer is just basic surface-level information about Luna. For those who don't know, Luna is a South Korean girl group that debuted in 2018 under the company Blockberry Creative. What sets them apart is their unique pre-debut process, in which each of the group's 12 members were revealed and debuted with a solo album, eventually leading up to their full group debut. Another thing that sets them apart is their unique and complicated lore. Each of the 12 members has an assigned color, and an assigned animal. Additionally, Luna has 3 subunits: 1/3, Odd Eye Circle, and YY. It's worth it to note that Yeojun is not officially part of a subunit, but she tends to be grouped with either 1/3 or Odd Eye Circle. A lot of Luna's lore revolves around the moon. Their Korean name,
이달의 소녀,
translates to Girl of the Month, but can also be translated as Girl of the Moon. The name Luna comes from the rearranged Hangul of
이달의 소녀,
and Luna means moon in multiple languages. Layer 2. This layer includes lore that is present in Luna's music videos and official posts. However, it requires a little more digging in order to understand, so I'll go over each one individually. Assigned locations. Each member of Luna's first subunit, Luna 1/3 as well as Yeojun, has an officially assigned location. Heejun's is Paris, France, Hyunjin's is Tokyo, Japan, Hassel's is Reykjavik, Iceland, Yeojun's is Taipei, Taiwan, and Vivi's is Hong Kong. These more or less correspond to where each girl's solo music video is filmed. Yeojun is lost in the forest. I've said previously that Yeojun isn't officially part of a subunit. This is most likely because she was only 14 and needed to focus on school at the time, but there's a lore explanation for it anyway. When Luna 1/3 released their repackage album, Love and Evil, Blockberry described the intro track as materializing a girl who is lost alone in a dark forest. With the piano played in accelerando, the girl runs away deeper into the forest. They also described the 1/3 members gathered together in the forest in order to save Yeojun. Vivi is an android. In Luna 1/3's music video for Love and Live, Vivi is shown to be an android trying to fit in with the rest of the members. At the end of the video, she breaks away from the looping track and runs until her battery runs out, eventually becoming human. Heejun is the god of the loonaverse. As the first girl to be introduced with her solo Vivid, Heejun is responsible for the creation of the loonaverse as we know it. The lyrics of Vivid describe a world in black and white, until Heejun decides to fill it with color. This has led many to believe that scenes in black and white, like the majority of the Sweet Crazy Love music video, occur before the current timeline of the loonaverse. Assigned fruits. The members of YY each have an assigned fruit, which they must eat in order to leave Eden and progress the story of the loonaverse. Eve's is an apple, Chu's is a strawberry, Go-One's is a pineapple and Olivia Hayes is a blood plum. This leads us into biblical references, which are present throughout the YY members' music videos. Allusions to the Garden of Eden, biblical Eve, and the action of eating forbidden fruit are all a big part of YY's lore. Additionally, some believe that Olivia Hayes' character in particular is a fallen angel, and parallels the story of Lucifer. Mobius strip. It's been mentioned by Blockberry and the girls themselves that Mobius is an important hint to the loonaverse. The Mobius strip is a one-sided surface that forms a loop, and is non-orientable. Simply put, if you were to traverse all sides of a Mobius strip you would return to your starting point as a mirror image of yourself, without crossing any edges or boundaries. This has led many to believe that the loonaverse is structured as a loop, with properties of a Mobius strip, and that each subunit occupies a different area of the strip. Jaden Zhang was Luna's first creative director. He came up with the initial concept of Luna and the loonaverse as early as 2015, and served as their creative director from pre-debut until Butterfly era. He is very controversial in the Orbit fandom, and I'll touch on a few of the reasons why later, but not everything will be covered in this video. In any case, he made a very dramatic exit after Butterfly era due to differences in creative vision. Color theory. Since each member has an assigned color, color theory is often used to determine the girls' relationships in the lore. The ones I see most often are complementary color pairs, such as purple and yellow, red and green, and blue and orange. For the most part, this theory uses the basic color wheel, but there are more complex color theories that I'll discuss later on. Layer 3. This layer includes aspects of the lore that are a little harder to find, with content that is either exclusive, or just not directly linked to Luna's music videos themselves. This is also where the line starts to blur a little bit between what is canon, and what is theory, so bear with me while I explain it all. Vimeo 4K music videos. This is referring to the versions of Luna's music videos that are uploaded on Digipedia's Vimeo channel. These can be described most accurately as director's cuts, and most of them have small but noticeable changes in editing and color grading from the ones uploaded on Luna the World's YouTube. The one with the most changes by far is Hassel's Let Me In, but I'll touch on that more later. Cinema Theory videos. Cinema Theory, Up and Line was a series of fan events that took place before Olivia Hayes' debut in 2018. The events took place in a theater and showed Luna's music videos as well as new unreleased content, including choreography and lore videos. One of these videos was the remixed version of Love and Live from the Orbit 1.0 album, but featuring Cherry instead of Hyunjin. Another is a short music video for Seesaw, which shows Chu and Go-won making the bracelet that Hyunjin finds outside her door in Around You. Letter to Hong Kong is a vlog filmed by Vivi documenting her time with the other members of 1/3. In one shot of Vivi and Hassel at an aquarium, Jinsol can be seen standing ominously in the background, and the camera zooms in on her before cutting to the beginning of Sweet Crazy Love. Assigned flowers. In the press release following the jacket photoshoot for And, version D, it was confirmed that the flowers each member posed with are in fact their official assigned flowers. This is one of the only major additions to each girl's Loonaverse information post-debut. Hyunjin was in Odd Eye Circle, and Hyunjin and Cherry are mirrors. This one is a lot, so please bear with me. This theory utilizes a lot of elements from topics we've already talked about, especially color theory and the cinema theory videos. Hyunjin makes a cameo appearance in Girlfront in which she wears clothes that fit in with the Odd Eye Circle members. The most popular theory is that Hyunjin was originally part of Odd Eye Circle, and they made up the three primary colors red, blue and yellow, from which all other colors on the basic color wheel are made. For reasons unknown, Hyunjin left the circle and was replaced by Cherry. This brings us to the second theory, that Hyunjin and Cherry are mirror images of each other. When I talked about color theory, I mentioned that purple and yellow are complementary colors, meaning they're placed opposite each other on the color wheel. With one of their members gone, Kim Lip and Jinsol had to seek out a secondary color to complete the circle. The members who represent secondary colors are Hassel, Yeojin, and Cherry, who are all seen in Love Cherry Motion. This is our alternate universe Odd Eye Circle, and the one who happens to take the bait is Cherry. So, Jinsol essentially drugs and kidnaps her, which is like, kinda fucked up. Jinsol, what the hell? Speaking of drugs and kidnapping, this brings us to the theory that Jinsol is a villain. The stuff we've covered in this layer has shown that she's more than a little sketchy at best, and downright evil at the worst. Some other factors that lead into this theory are her appearance in egoist and seeming manipulation of Olivia Hay, and her possible murder of Vivi, or at least erasing her memories. Eve is the guy in Everyday I Love You. Vivi's solo music video follows her crush on a guy who shows up at the roller skating rink where she works. Moon Shoho, one of the Digipedi directors, said that the story of Everyday I Love You was created by restoring Vivi's memories as a human, before she was converted into an android. In Eve's solo music video, New, we see Eve and Vivi roller skating together in almost an exact parallel to Everyday I Love You. It's widely theorized that this is what actually happened, and that Vivi's memories were somehow corrupted in the restoration process, perhaps causing her to forget Eve entirely. New DNA theory, neanthropic chromosomes, and the reversed Luna the World link. I'm grouping these three topics together since they're all just different details of the same thing, having to do with the lore surrounding YY. The photo teasers of the members usually have a link to the Luna the World website. But during Eve's reveal and debut, her first few teasers showed this link but reversed. Unfortunately, the website no longer exists, but it only contained a GIF of a pink and blue DNA strand, as well as a Mobius strip. Neanthropic chromosomes are mentioned in the description of YY's video teaser as a new form of DNA, different to XX or XY chromosomes. Neanthropic is defined as an adjective that compares modern forms of humans with their extinct counterparts. These two details form the new DNA theory, implying that the YY girls have moved past modern conceptions of humanity into something greater. On the topic of YY, let's talk about the theory that YY is one person. This is in reference to the video 1, which first screened at Cinema Theory and then was later uploaded on Luna the World's channel. In this video, we see that Eve, Chu, Go-won and Olivia Hay represent the emotions of faith, love, hope, and anger respectively. Each girl is alone, until Olivia bites the apple and the other three appear in the mirror. The phrase "I am thou, thou art me" implies that these emotions are all facets of one person, Olivia Hay. Layer 4. This is where we start getting into specific details, content that was teased but never released, and some of the more popular speculative fan theories. The basement. This is referring to the description of the Eclipse music video, where it says Jin Sol was rescued from a basement in Hong Kong. In Singing in the Rain, we initially see Jin Sol in a dark setting, which she eventually rises and breaks out of. Dal Senyo sampling an LSD documentary. Dal Senyo is the intro track to YY's Beauty and the Beat album. At the end of the track, a stuttered voice can be heard saying,
Do you find any difference between one half of your body as opposed to the other half?
The source of this clip was found to be a documentary about the effects of psychedelic drugs such as LSD. Jin Sol was supposed to be the sixth member. This is referring to Luna TV prequel number 11, which was uploaded in August of 2017 but filmed in February. This prequel follows Jin Sol traveling to Hong Kong to meet 1/3 and cameo in Vivi's Everyday I Need You music video. In the video, she introduces herself as the sixth member. From this it can be assumed that Jin Sol was supposed to debut after Vivi, but for unknown reasons that member became Kim Lip instead. Yeojin's animal was originally a bear. During Yeojin's reveal and debut, she was heavily associated with bears in her teasers and outfits, even using the bear emoji in tweets about her. But right before Kiss Later was released, they posted this picture on Facebook, with the caption saying "I pretended to be a teddy bear, but actually I was a frog." It's unclear whether her animal was actually meant to be a frog from the beginning, or if they just decided to make a last-minute change. Either way, both bears and frogs fit with the fairy tale theme of Yeojin's solo. Vivi has an odd eye. In the music videos for Love and Live and Star, there is particular attention on Vivi's left eye. Moon Shoho describes Vivi as bleached hair, a sparkling left eye, running through the grasslands. This is interesting to me, Because if I didn't know it was about Vivi, I would definitely think it was describing Jinsol. It's also worth it to note that Odd Eye Circle's first fan sign also included Vivi. Femme and Fatal. This is in reference to an Instagram photo uploaded by Jaden Jeong during YYBY's debut. Since all of Luna's subunit album titles are in the same format, blank and blank, it was speculated that this would be the title of YYBY's first album, or repackage album. A femme fatale is a character archetype of a seductive woman who leads her lovers into compromising or deadly situations for her own gain. However, there never ended up being a YYBY album with this name, or even a YYBY repackage album in general. La Maison. On the topic of albums that were teased but never released, I have to mention the most infamous of them all. La Maison, also known as Luna the Ballad, was an album that included the two hidden tracks on Multiple, Crystal Ballad and Hyper Ballad, as well as a previously unheard track, Bliss Ballad. The teaser was uploaded in May of 2019, with the subtitle delayed but someday. But on October 26 of that year, it was clear that the someday would never come, as Jaden posted on his blog that he deleted the album to focus on new work. Olivia Hay is a shapeshifter. Each member of Luna has a representative animal, and for the most part they are just that, representations. The roles of these animals in the lore are metaphorical and symbolic, for the most part. That is, until Paint the Town, where we can clearly see wolf paw prints leading directly to the temple where Olivia Hay hits the drum. This is possibly implying that she is actually able to transform into her representative animal, the wolf. Additive and subtractive color theory. I touched on color theory earlier, and made it clear that the basic color wheel provides a fundamental basis for Luna's lore. However, this color wheel isn't the only color theory out there. Additive and subtractive color theory details what happens when adding white and black to the RGB and CMY color models. It's worth it to note that along with blue and purple, Jinsol and cherry also have subcolors which are black and white, respectively. The most notable aspect of these theories are the addition of cyan and magenta, which are closer to Go1 and Heejin's colors of Eden green and hot pink than anything on the basic color wheel. Klein bottle theory. I said before that the loonaverse is constructed in the shape of a Mobius strip. A Klein bottle is essentially the union of two Mobius strips to create a closed, four-dimensional figure, a cylinder in which both the inside and the outside are the same surface. It's implied that the loonaverse has multiple timelines, so it makes sense that two Mobius strips may have merged to become one. Layer 5. This layer explores details that were only mentioned, but never teased or released, and delves deeper into some of the more obscure fan theories. Must break and match. This is in reference to a scrapped line only present in the Butterfly demo, which can be heard in the background of Luna TV number 484. Some have theorized that this line is referencing the new DNA theory, as breaking and matching is similar to the process of DNA recombination. As for who's singing it, it's hard to tell. To me it sounds like Hassel, but there's no way to be sure. In doing the research for this video I listened to it a few more times, and realized that the line also sounds like it could be Must Strike a Match. At the end of Butterfly, you can faintly hear what sounds like a lighter. This is likely foreshadowing for Burn, which was later released as Hash. Fire has been a symbol in the loonaverse since Egoist, and especially so in So What and Paint the Town, and if it really is Hassel singing this line, then the theory about her animal actually being a phoenix makes even more sense. Cinema Theory Brazil. Shortly after the Cinema Theory events in early 2018, BBC announced that they would be doing another Cinema Theory in a country of orbit's choosing. Brazil received the most votes, so on May 3 they posted this incredible Notes app screenshot announcing that a Cinema Theory would be held in Brazil. This never happened, and the Busan Cinema Theory in June of 2018 was the last one. Rendezvous 18.6 years music video. In YYBY's Frequency of the Moon episode on March 20 of 2020, Olivia Hay mentioned that they filmed an entire music video for Rendezvous 18.6 years that was never released, and we can only assume was meant to be released alongside their repackaged album. She said that they even filmed with a drone and had an album cover ready. Luna TV number 349 shows brief behind-the-scenes footage of their outfits and filming location, but no other footage of the music video exists. The Loonaverse is an ARG. This isn't really one single coherent theory, but rather a collection of elements that the Loonaverse shares with ARGs, or alternate reality games. An alternate reality game is an interactive narrative that uses the real world as a platform, usually telling a story that can be changed or altered by a player's decisions. Think of like a choose-your-own-adventure book meets MMORPG. A lot of Luna's pre-debut lore incorporates ARG elements, such as letting fans choose the members of the first subunit, and saying that Jin Soul was freed from the basement by the wishes of the fans. I honestly doubt that these things were actually left up to fan decisions, but they're a part of the storytelling nonetheless. Other content like Letter to Hong Kong effectively blurs the line between the Loonaverse and real life, showing Jin Soul's Loonaverse character in the background of what we assume to be a normal vlog makes everything seem that much more real. Invisible 13th member. This is kind of a combination between two different theories. Before Olivia Hay's reveal, many speculated that her representative color would be black. Along with that, some people theorized that she was meant to be the invisible force at work in the Loonaverse, driving the yellow truck in Let Me In and pulling out Jin Soul's earbud in Sweet Crazy Love. The reasoning was that black absorbs light, and is not on the visible color spectrum. This was pretty much disproved when her color was found to be closer to gray or silver, but it still leaves the question of who this invisible character is. Bird Hassel is the real Hassel. This theory is mostly derived from the 4K director's cut of Let Me In uploaded on Digipedia's Vimeo channel. I mentioned previously that this one is the most different from its YouTube counterpart in terms of editing and narrative structure. Most notably, it features more shots of Bird Hassel singing, making them seem less mysterious and more of a sympathetic character. When Bird Hassel is killed in the 4K version, the editing and usage of color makes it feel like much more of an act of violence, casting Hassel in a more villainous light. This leads one to wonder who the true doppelganger really is in this situation. The Hungarian lady is the god of the Loonaverse. Before the introduction of all Lunas around the world in Butterfly, Luna's music videos tended not to include anyone other than the members themselves. There are a few exceptions, but even these cameos often represent other members. So then, who is the blonde woman in Love for Eva? And no, it's not Grimes. Due to the abundance of biblical references, a lot of people theorize that the YYBY girls are angels or deities. This would make the blonde woman some kind of god or higher-ranking deity since she is their superordinate. Shoe theory. In each of the subunits' music videos, they are shown to wear distinct types of shoes, and some members such as Eve are seen changing shoes. Due to this, it is theorized that the type of shoes a member wears are indicative of where they are located in the Loonaverse. Tietz's graph. Tietz's graph is a 12-point mathematical graph used for mapping the Mobius strip into 6 adjacent planes, thus requiring 6 colors. This could possibly represent the different planes of the Loonaverse occupied by different members and subunits. Liminal consciousness theory. According to psychological theory, consciousness can be separated into 3 levels: the conscious, or supraliminal, unconscious or subliminal, and the liminal, which is the transitional space between. When applied to the Loonaverse, it makes the most sense to view 1/3 as representative of the supraliminal or conscious reality, YYBY as the subliminal ruled by unconscious emotion, and odd eye circle occupying a liminal state, able to move between both realms. Layer 6. This layer is entirely speculation, so please don't take anything I say here as fact. I still think a lot of these theories are very compelling, even if they are mostly up to interpretation. Vivi is originally from Eden. It is clear on a surface level that Vivi seems out of place in 1/3. Being an android with corrupted memories surrounded by normal human girls makes the viewer wonder what happened to her, and how she ended up in 1/3. Some believe that she was actually the first girl to escape Eden. This makes a lot of sense when you consider that she was essentially the reason Eve decided to leave Eden in New. Perhaps Eve originally wanted to find Vivi and bring her back, but realized along the way that she would rather stay and explore the outside world, eventually bringing the rest of YY along with her. Chu died of hypothermia. This is a repeated motif in Luna's music videos and songs. The description of the heart attack music video states that it references The Little Match Girl by Hans Christian Andersen, which is a story about a young girl who sees visions of hope and comfort before dying of hypothermia. The lyrics of YY's song Frozen also contain these themes. Additionally, in the cinema theory, Up and Line teaser, Chu appears to be frozen. Content warning: this next theory contains discussion about heavy topics including depression and suicide. If you wish to skip this, please go to the timestamp listed on screen. Around You is about suicide. This is definitely the theory that I got the most questions about, and yet it sounds like a reach, but I think it's a really interesting interpretation and seems to make sense in context. Throughout the Around You music video, especially in the film version, Hyunjin seems to be sad and aimless for most of the video. Those of us who have experienced depressive states know this feeling of aimlessness very well. She is seen writing on postcards, and it's impossible to tell exactly what she is writing or to whom, but this theory offers the explanation of it being letters to loved ones or a suicide note. The cinematography lends insight to this theory as well. The use of transitional spaces, such as bridges and stairways, is often symbolic of the border between life and death, along with the obvious observation that bridges are a popular suicide destination. At the end of the video, we see Hyunjin along with 7 other versions of herself wearing the cat head, making 8 in total. We all know that cats have 9 lives, so it seems that Hyunjin has already lost 1 life. This theory is very heavy, and I just want to make it clear again that it is just one interpretation out of many. Let Me In is a trans allegory. One of my favorite things about the loonaverse is that it doesn't shy away from representing and encouraging LGBT themes and interpretations. The storylines of New and Heart Attack show relationships between women in a positive light, and something to be celebrated. However, as a non-cis person, I have always been captivated by the story of Let Me In, and I'm not the only person who interprets it as a transgender narrative. Since Hassel's debut, she has been promoted with both a masculine and feminine persona, with her girl teasers being posted during the day, and boy teasers posted at night. This aligns with the Korean name of Let Me In, which translates to boy, girl. The intricacies of this theory only truly make sense if you choose to interpret the lyrics of Let Me In as being about herself, rather than someone else. From this viewpoint, we can read the lyrics from a new perspective. She starts off with a realization deep in her heart, an awakening. When night falls, she becomes a different person. From a gender theory perspective, the feeling that you can only be yourself when no one else is looking is common among trans people. The pressure to assume this new identity is growing stronger, but Hassel is hesitant, and doesn't know who she will be when the night is over. At the end of the song, the lyrics change from "This girl is a boy's girl" to "This girl is a boy's wish." The music video essentially tells the same story as the lyrics, but in the end, Hassel succeeds in killing the masculine part of herself, answering the question of who she chooses to live as. Plane crash theory. This is in reference to a theory posted during Why Not era, which constructs a narrative around the crashed plane seen in Let Me In and the X2X teaser. According to this theory, the loonaverse is a time loop set in motion by this plane crash, and the 12 girls killed in the crash are now stuck in this loop. The only ones who seem to have a direct connection to the plane are Hassel and Go1. There's more to it and OP's words are better than mine, so you can pause here to read the screenshots for yourself. pH acidity scale. The pH scale is a measure used to determine the acidity of a solution. The scale ranges from 1 being most acidic to 14 being most basic, with 7 being pure water. The more acidic a solution is, the more hydronium ions are present. The more basic, the more hydroxide ions are present. These numbers and abbreviations seem to correspond with Heejin and Olivia Hay, with Jinsol representing neutrality. I got a C in chemistry, so I'm probably not the best person to be talking about this, so I recommend you check the theory out on your own. Non-Euclidean manifolds. The OP of this theory isn't around anymore and I honestly have no fucking clue how to explain it, so I'm sorry. I'm just going to have to take the L on this one. Just know that it had to do with some big brain topology and theoretical geometry stuff that I am just too stupid to explain. Layer 7. Womana is loonaverse canon. For legal reasons this is a joke. But I might as well just explain it anyway. Do you remember when we first met? aka First Love Story aka Womana is a web drama series that starred the members of Luna, with the first 2 seasons focusing on 1/3 and the third on Odd Eye Circle. It's kind of infamous in the Orbit fandom for its very hetero storylines and cringy acting. But I still think some of the roles are iconic and there are scenes that genuinely make me laugh.
너 검은 옷 안 좋아함. 눈치 없어서 그림자 같은 사람 잘 모름. 근데 오빠 이름이 뭐예요?
As for its role in the Loonaverse, it's pretty much non-existent, and honestly thank God for that. I was going to include a section with things that I forgot to put on the iceberg, but this video is already a nightmare to edit, so I'll just list them in the comments. If you managed to make it through this whole video, thank you so much for watching. I'd like to make more Loonaverse videos in the future, maybe going more in depth into different theories, so if you'd be interested in that, please let me know.